Hello, guys. So, we are back with our third Zoom podcast with somebody super special this time. I mean, I always have special people, but this is like extra special. So, of course, before we dive into who is our guest and what are we doing, I think I'm going to give a quick introduction of tea again, if anybody is watching it first time. Um, so, tea connection is basically the thought, emotion, action, and tea. So the whole idea in a gist is to just have a conversation about mental health over a cup of tea with anybody and at any time without having any kind of stigmatization or feeling, oh my God, how can I talk about this? How can I share this information about my life? So that's the whole idea behind it. And the idea is two layered. One is to form a community of everyone where you can come and talk about mental health. And the second layer is to bring to you all these experts with their great experience, their understanding of life, their studies, what they have learned, so that we can combine these two together and form a community with an informed mental health knowledge. Um, so I've had Dr. Naidu as the first Zoomcast interview. The second was with Daniel Angus from here in Sydney. And now I have Niyati Bapat, who is my literally, I would say childhood, but we're not literally teenage friend. I think we've known each other
College
since
friend.
we were college in uni. So we were in university together. We did a bachelor's of psychology together. Did masters almost together, but at different times in
Yeah.
UK in UK, and then came back to Bombay and started our own respective businesses almost again at the same time. Um, so I'm going to read out the bio of Niyati, but before that, I want to introduce Niyati in a different way, what she means to me and what I think Niyati and I have come a long way. I think if I say how many years, we will feel old. So I'm not going to say how many years, but since we were in uni, so definitely more than a decade. And it's just been this beautiful journey where I think we have learned how to communicate with each other, how to not communicate, how to use our words correctly, how to get better in the tones that we use with each other, how to
Mhm.
not neglect each other just because we don't know what's happening in each other's lives, because we are guilty of everything of what I just mentioned, both of us equally. So I think it's that's why the topic today is effective communication, because I think Niyati and I, as friends, as being from the similar background of studies, we have learned to communicate better with each other. I think we have grown
Yeah.
as humans in terms of just and matured as people. Just learning the communication, to be honest. I mean, I love Niyati, Niyati loves me. That's a different thing. That's totally unconditional. But I think we were not communicating properly when we were younger because we didn't know how to, maybe, and then slowly we learned how it was. And I think as friends, as relationships, as just in life, communication plays such a big part. And Niyati has gone ahead and actually uh, put in lots of efforts and research and understanding what communication is and how it means and shapes somebody's life. So I think that's why she's here. But I really have to introduce the amazing things that she does, because she does do really amazing things. So she's the founder, CEO of Lingo Nest. Lingo Nest, again, I can say personally, I have seen this girl conceptualize the name, the whole idea right in front of my eyes. So I know how passionate she is about this, and I can't believe she's doing it for what, 10 years now, Niyati?
9 years.
9 years.
Yes.
9 years.
We completed 9 and we're on our 10th. Yes.
Exactly, because this was after my marriage. So my marriage will be 10 years old. This, so that's how I can calculate. um,
But you're
and
slowly giving away the whole age thing, so that's not
that's
going to
true.
work.
I
I'm
shouldn't
sending
do
it to her.
that. She's a corporate trainer for interpersonal skills for the past 7 years. Um, she has she does a lot of projects and a lot of trainings on communication. She's an interpersonal skills trainer at different colleges like Mitibai, NM. Of course, she's done her master's in organizational and social psychology from LSE, that's London School of Economics, right? And she's an NLP, that's a neuro linguistic programming master practitioner, and certified in rational emotive cognitive behavior therapy. And I can also vouch that whatever she does it with the heart. She puts in her lots of efforts, lots and lots of efforts into whatever she does. And I think as a friend, she's definitely inspired me in different ways, and I think that's why we are so connected even after so many ups and downs. So let's I'll give it up to our darling Niyati. And Niyati, if I missed out on anything, please add to any of your major intros. Anything that you've started new. I know you've started something new called Niyashi. If you want to give a little brief of that, and then we can start with the effective communication.
Yeah, I mean, Niyashi Consultancy is something that I have joined as, a partner for talent evolution. So basically formalizing the training work that I have been doing now for a long time on my own. The company is very, very special. One of the reasons being that it's my dad and I who are working on this. So he's managing the business, consulting and how do you grow businesses, etc. aspect of it.
Mhm.
And the training and managing the talent is the part that I'm taking care of. So that's very briefly about what we are doing at Niyashi. But again, I think I don't want to add anything more to the introduction. Thank you very much for a fantastic introduction. I think what's important now is, what I can bring and give here about communication. So I think let's do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Niyati. Thank you for doing this with us. And also, I forgot to elaborate. So I'll elaborate that and jump to the first question. So Lingo Nest is basically a what do you call it? It's a training center. Would you say it's like a
Yeah, you
coaching?
can call
Yeah,
it
language center.
a language academy. Yeah.
Yeah, language academy for all foreign languages, isn't it? And for different age groups as well, across different age groups. So yeah, so she can communicate in different languages as well. So, so this I hope the Zoom podcast is going to go really amazing. So we have the right person to talk about. So like I said, effective communication or just communication is such a big part of our lives. We do that literally every minute of our day. Um,
Yeah.
so Niyati, based on your expertise and your experience, and of course with your training and everything that you have experienced in the last so many years, how
Yeah.
important do you think communication is, and how does it, how can we, how do you think we incorporate the thing in everyday life, and yeah, what's communication, how does communication play an important role in our life, if I put it that way?
Right. Aditi, I feel I think I'm extremely passionate about communication.
Mm,
And the reason that is so is because I have seen very personally how it has changed my life.
mm,
I think learning how to communicate
mm,
very consciously and intentionally has really changed the entire shape and the way of things in my life.
mm,
And I do believe that a lot that I have been able to do is because I learned, how to communicate more mindfully
mm,
and, intentionally. Because, see, if you think about it, give it a thought from the moment you wake up to the moment, you go to bed. You are constantly communicating, right? It's one of the activities that you're engaged in all the time. Sometimes it might be how you're speaking to the world outside, to the people in your family, to the people at work, just generally when you're crossing people and meeting them. And also, apart from that, we're also constantly communicating, in our minds to ourselves. So I think because we engage in it so much, communication does determine the quality of our life. How we speak to ourselves determines the quality of our inner world, and how we speak to the people outside
mm,
determines the quality of the external world or the world around us, right? Our world that we've created. So I think that's why communication is very, very crucial. I think it's important to say here that communication is inevitable. You
mm,
can't skip it,
mm,
right? Because think about this, even when you're not communicating, it's actually a form of communication,
mhm,
right? So if I'm not responding to you, that's still a response.
mhm.
And that's why I feel that that's something that we can't escape.
Yeah, yeah.
And because that's the case, I think there's so much power in actually then choosing how I want to communicate, because this I can't escape. I'm going to be communicating
Mm,
one way or the other.
mm,
And even in not communicating, I'm communicating. So I'd rather then take charge of how I want to interact and communicate with the world. So I think that to me is where the power of communication lies. If I have to put it in terms of what communication is, very simply, and I don't want to get into definitions, but I think that it's a very essential component of interpersonal relationships,
Mm,
right? Because that's how we relate with each other.
that's
And I
true.
think the beauty of communication is that it allows us to feel heard and seen.
Mm,
So when I'm speaking to you and you're acknowledging what I'm saying, I feel seen, I feel
mm,
heard.
mm.
And that's how we're actually connecting, relating to each other and building, relationships. So I think that's how I'd like to explain communication. And if you'd let me, recently I actually heard, so I was doing this course NLP, and my teacher said something so beautiful, and it's really stayed with me. Okay. And I don't remember it word for word, but I'm
Yeah.
going to do my best here to, put across what I heard. And he said something to the effect of, when you let go of suggestions,
Mm,
advice, moral preachings, judgments, when you let go of all of this, what is then left is communication.
yeah. It's a very
And
powerful
I think that's
thing
so
to say.
powerful, yeah.
That's amazing. And
And
that's
I
so
mean, when he
true.
said that, I was like, wow, yeah, okay, that's really what communication is.
And that's so beautifully put, because I think that was leading to my next question, or acknowledging of what you said, and then leading to the next question. Uh, because you said a few things like the heard and seen, you're heard
Yeah,
and seen. Especially in my practice, I feel like there are so many clients, most of my clients, I would say, do feel depressed or anxious, or any kind of mental health barriers, mainly because they feel they're not understood, or they are misunderstood,
yeah,
or have been misunderstood over the years, by their family, by their friends, by um, by themselves. Sometimes they just don't know what's happening
yeah,
in their life. So that's definitely a biggest thing. um, I see a lot of teenage girls, okay, that crowd, that adolescents. And I personally feel that is the developmental age where the communication is getting formed. And if you think of
yeah,
it, puberty, the hormonal changes, the peer pressure feeds in so much of judgment, so much
yeah,
of, they're all thinking. Like, for example, like my next question would be, I get these three words a lot in my practice from most of my clients: I don't know. Any question you
yeah,
ask them, it be it like,
yeah,
for example, for younger kids, after the third or fourth session, I ban the I don't know. Then I push them that you
yeah,
have to communicate, you have to try and form those
yeah,
sentences which are more than I don't know, and try to express yourself. The other day, I had
yeah,
a 40-year-old man, a male, come in and said, I don't know. And I said, I
yeah,
banned all my 12 and 14-year-olds to say this word. But I
yeah,
understand they struggle. But when I hear this from older adults as well, I realize the depth of how much we really don't know ourselves, or we struggle to express ourselves because we are so fearful of judgment. So I
yeah,
think people don't communicate or miscommunicate because they are so stressed what will happen next. If I say this, or if the way I say
yeah,
this, then somebody is not going to
yeah,
understand. So the best way to be is to be passive and say I don't know. So
yeah.
my question would be, how to like you said, no, to like we communicate 24/7. So how do we make this communication out there to people without having those inhibitions of, should I share this, should I not, should I, like we're thinking so much before talking sometimes. So
Yeah.
how to get rid of this constant denial, or constant struggle to talk to people.
I think the way I see this and the way I mean, when I think about talking, I think it's fantastic to actually think before we speak.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
if people are doing that,
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah, yeah.
What we need to bring our focus to is where is that thinking going,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I need to, in the way I communicate, I need to be able to take responsibility, or I need to be responsible in the way I'm saying things,
Mm, mm,
right? So more than judgment, what I need to think about when I'm communicating and before I do is actually thinking to myself, what is it that I'm looking to achieve here, right?
mm,
What's the objective? What's the purpose of my communication? And I think the minute you have clarity on what is it that's the objective or the purpose of this conversation that we're going to have, I think it becomes easier then to say that, okay, if this is the purpose I'm looking to achieve,
Mm.
how best can I then frame this? I think it
Okay.
also requires a level of becoming comfortable and secure with who you are.
Mm.
You know, I also feel, and this is, I mean, I'm saying this from a very personal space when I say this, that we fear judgment because we are prone to judgment,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
The more I judge, the more I'm scared of being judged. So I think a very, I mean, I won't say easy because it's not very easy to stop judging. I think it comes
Yeah.
very naturally to us as
Yeah.
beings.
Yeah.
But the lesser or the more accepting I become of the people around me, and the
Yeah.
more I'm able to put my judgment aside and actually listen, and replace that judgment with curiosity, actually.
Mm.
The more I'm able to also not worry about others judging me, because then I'm like, okay, I'm here to share my truth and my understanding. And this is not about right or wrong. I'm here just to put forth where I'm coming from, and let's see
Mm.
where this goes. So I think one of the beautiful things that I have learned, and I try to practice. I wouldn't say I've been very successful in doing that, but I've definitely more than I used to be. And I always talk to my clients also when I'm doing my trainings. Also, always replace judgment with curiosity.
Mm.
And there's a lot of power in that, Aditi, because when we judge, I've already made a conclusion, and we know the human mind, we know conformity bias, and all of those things. So the minute I have judged and I've
Mm.
reached a conclusion, my confirmation bias is going to play through, which means now I'm only listening to
Mm.
confirm what I've already concluded.
Yeah.
But the minute I replace that judgment with curiosity and I say, you know what, I want to learn more about you and your world, or how you see this world,
Mm.
right? I think the conversation becomes so much more natural, raw, and real.
Absolutely. See, that's why you're so brilliant, Niyati. The way you've put it is just bang on. I think I'm going to take this whole snippet and show it to all my clients instead of me replaying it to them. This is brilliant because it makes so much sense, and
Yeah.
it's also keeping and accepting the essence of what people are feeling and just tweaking it a little bit so that it's not that you're like, I always say that you don't have to change yourself, but you have to tweak certain things of your personality to to be a part of that healing journey. And I think this is such a big thing. Like, I think this is it's not judgment, it's curiosity. I think that was brilliant. Yeah, that's so true, because I think, like you said, as humans we are going to compare, we are going to, the other side is greener. That's going to come as a default setting. But instead of saying the other side is greener, it could be, why is the other side greener? Am I giving less water, or, what is happening, which is maybe different, so that we can look at it
Yeah.
differently. Because this makes a lot of sense. Because, like I say to a lot of my clients, especially again coming back to the teenage cohort, I tell them, that you all, to be honest, I feel like putting you all in one group, because you all feel that the other one thinks like this. And that's when that
Yeah.
what you're saying is absolutely true. When you come from judgment, you feel like the others are
Yeah.
judging you.
Yeah.
Fantastically said. Great. Thank you so much, Niyati. I think this is amazing. So, based on this, again, what are your tips, or what are your expertise in terms of how do we make this communication better? Like, how do we make it non-judgmental, or coming to language? I think, how do we change the way we talk, or how we talk, or what is it that we need to be mindful of, so that we are communicating effectively? Again, saying that I do get it, we can't do it 100% of the time, but if we learn the skill, at least we are aware of it and can make those changes. So how
Yeah.
do we
No, I think,
what is it that we can inculcate, or what is it that we can do, like few strategies or few tips according to you?
right. So, what I feel like when someone's speaking and when I'm listening, right? I think the minute I catch myself, like I said, judgment does come very naturally to us.
Yeah.
So I think if I can, And when, I become aware of it, I think that's the first step, like we say, right? So the minute
Yeah.
I catch myself, already making a conclusion or making a
Mm.
judgment, I think I need to stop myself there and say that, let's listen. Let's really listen to understand. And I think the more and more I practice that, the more and more I am able to really listen for what's happening, or
Mm.
what the person's saying, and understand their position,
Mm.
rather than sit here and constantly, kind of filter it through my understanding.
Correct.
So I think that is really a big one in terms of, becoming aware that I'm doing this and then catching myself, when I'm doing it. And I also feel there's a big impact on, I like to ask people how they see the world, in the sense that, are you seeing the world in hierarchies,
Mm.
right? Because when you see the world in hierarchies, then it's a lot about, oh, this one is better, this one is not so good. Therefore, how do I speak, or how do I?
Mm.
But different is not necessarily better or worse. Different is just different.
Mm.
And if I can understand that, and I
Mm.
can learn to talk to everybody the way, and that becomes the way I speak to anybody,
Mm.
irrespective of whether I see them as less or more, or am I even seeing them as less and more to begin with? Can I just look at everyone as just people? And yes, this one is different from me, this one's more like me, and I have, in having a conversation with someone who's similar to me and who's different from me, there are different learnings, and can I take that?
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
And we say this in NLP, actually, I teach you again. I think that there's so much influence, and I'm just come out of finishing these courses. So I think I'm in complete awe of my teacher. Also, I feel like I've learned so much from him. And I'd like to call out his name here as well, Anil Thomas.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that he keeps saying, to us, he kept saying to us, Aditi, is meet people where they are,
Mm.
you know rather than trying to tell them about, come here and see the world from my perspective, go and sit and see how they are actually seeing the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we can do that, there is a little bit of resistance to do that, because I want to sit here because I'm comfortable where I am.
Mm.
But when I can actually make that journey and sit beside them and really understand their world, or understand where they're coming from, I think it becomes easier to connect.
Mm. Mm.
So I think these are, at least in the place of listening and understanding, this becomes an easier way, or a way to actually drop that judgment
Yeah.
and then really listen.
Absolutely. Brilliant. I think the first steps, like you're saying, is being aware, catching myself when I'm, judging people. And I think
Yeah,
to sum it up, meet people where they are. I think
they are.
that's the catch line. And yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned
I'm not like,
Thomas.
think about, is that good, or first of all, also, again, like I said, seeing the world in hierarchy, seeing the world as good and bad,
Mm. Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
think we need to stop doing that. And when
I
we do that,
mm,
it becomes so much easier, right? Because this is not
absolutely.
about good or bad. It's just about, okay, this is what I'm learning, and then I can decide whether it helps me, serves me, or it doesn't. And I think
Absolutely.
that there's so much more value that we get from the world when we start looking at it like that, as opposed to seeing it as good and bad, or, positive or negative. I think that's a very limited way of looking at the world.
100%, 100%. And I think we're all guilty of that. And it's very important to slowly change that and become aware of it. So awesome. I know you are awesome with languages. So, in terms of how does language play a role in communication? And in terms of this is more of the awareness and, the belief systems and how we should be more how we can tweak and change where we come from. And I love what you said in the earlier as well, is what is the purpose and objective of your communication. So
Yeah.
what I think I would like to understand, or I think what people would like to understand, is once we have come there, how can we use language, or how can I change my language so that we communicate effectively?
Hmm.
So how does
Okay.
language play an important role in communication, basically? Yeah.
Sure. But I'm going to just back it up a little here,
Yeah,
okay? Because I
yeah,
also feel like we have gotten, as I mean, I'm running Lingonest, and of course, I love languages, and
yeah.
I'm a big advocate for languages. But I also want to emphasize a point here that language is fairly relatively new,
Yes.
right? In the sense that communication happened before language.
Mm, correct.
Even today, communication happens before language is learned. Like, think
Mm,
about how we talk to children who don't know a language,
mm,
and we're still communicating.
mm,
So, while language is very important for reasons that we will talk about, I want to emphasize here that communication has happened before language
mm,
and happens beyond language.
mhm.
And I think that's very important for us to know because sometimes we get too caught up in the language or in the words.
So,
And
no, go on. No, I
yeah,
just wanted to say, can you emphasize more? What do you mean by that? I'm just going from like if
so there's a
somebody
lot of
who's not from the scene
communication
listening.
that
Sorry,
no, so I
I
feel
lagged.
like there's a lot of sorry, I cut
No,
you.
no, no.
You were
It
saying
was
something.
getting no, no. It was getting lagged. I don't know whose internet was it. Maybe mine. No, no. Go ahead. So I was just saying that. Yeah, basically, yeah. When you say communication was, before languages, just understanding what it exactly means, for people who like completely are not able to understand what you're saying. So just helping us understand in more, yeah, like giving an example or something. Like, what do you mean by that?
No, I think that it's also important to understand that we're not only communicating with words,
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
but right with body language
hmm,
and with tone of voice and things
hmm,
like that. And in fact, the communication, I think the Mehrabian communication, model talks about this, that words only consist of 7% of our
hmm,
communication.
hmm,
And then there is, I mean, tone of voice, and the biggest is your body language.
hmm,
And other think about it, it happens so many times when people are saying the right words, they're saying
hmm.
everything to the point, and you're listening to them and you're like, this person said everything the way it should be said, but I still don't trust you,
Yeah.
or I still don't buy it.
Hmm,
And why? Because you're not only communicating in words, but you're
hmm,
also communicating through your body language.
hmm. Yeah.
And I think many times we're not necessarily conscious of that.
Hmm,
And one of the biggest things that we need to keep in mind is that when our words and our body language, when they don't align,
hmm,
human beings will always trust, others will always trust your body language because that doesn't know how to lie,
hmm,
right? And words, we still know how to lie. Your body doesn't know. Your body language doesn't necessarily know
hmm.
how, I mean, naturally doesn't know,
Yeah.
instinctively doesn't know how to lie. So I think it's very important to be very conscious, very clear again of our purpose, of our
Hmm,
intent,
hmm,
and then make sure that everything in us is aligning with that message and we are true to that message that we are saying,
hmm,
to the extent possible, because that's what effective communication is, where you're in alignment,
hmm.
right from your words to your body language, and to your tone of voice. Again, I'm sure we've heard this comment so many times, right? It's not what you said, it's how you said
You said
it.
it. Yeah.
Had you said it nicely, I would have listened to you,
Yeah.
but you didn't say it nicely, so I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so again, there is something that's more powerful there than the words.
Hmm,
So, which is not to take away from the fact that words are not important. Words have power too.
hmm,
But
hmm,
I'm saying that there are other things that
hmm.
are also important.
Which,
And I mean, if we have to look at how it levels or matches up,
hmm.
then more important. So we need to, kind of be careful about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now back to your question of language,
Yeah.
because I just felt like this is important to
Yeah.
say
Yeah. Yeah.
because
100%. Yeah.
how I show up and the energy with which I show up,
Hmm,
and then how my entire body is communicating is as important as what I'm saying. Because I could sit here and, I could then look down here and say that, oh, I'm very passionate about communication, as
yeah.
opposed to saying, Aditi, I'm really passionate about communication. And
Yeah.
there's a difference.
Absolutely correct.
So words alone will not make a difference, is what I'm saying,
Yes. No,
you know.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, to answer the question of language, I think See, this is the interesting thing about language. We use language to communicate our experiences,
Hmm.
right? So, suppose I'm talking to you about what happened yesterday, or we're having this conversation, and we can do that because we have language,
Hmm.
right? But what we often don't realize and recognize is yes, language is used to communicate or talk about our experience, but
Hmm.
language in itself also creates experience,
Okay.
right? For example, and I mean, again, picking this up from, we all use this in therapy as well, where somebody is trying to emote, let's say, and talk about their, how they're feeling. And we often tell them, right, that if you're feeling angry, don't say, I am angry.
Hmm.
Instead, say, I'm feeling angry,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And when you say the two sentences, there's a difference. Like,
Yeah.
let's just try it, okay? Aditi, just
Yeah.
say, I think of something that's made you angry recently, or you felt angry when that's happened. And
Yeah.
now say, I'm angry.
I'm angry.
Say that for me.
Yeah. I'm really
Yeah.
angry. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a physical experience to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now let's switch it and say, I'm feeling angry.
I'm feeling angry. Yeah. It feels
And that felt
different.
different in your body. And
Absolutely.
how? Why don't you tell us how that felt different?
I think because we disassociate, right? Like the moment we say I am angry, it's about me, it's about my existence, it's everything in me that is angry. But the moment you say I'm feeling angry, it's like it's a feeling which you can deal with. So I feel like when we say I'm feeling angry, or if you say I have a thought instead of I'm thinking this, I think it kind of
Yeah.
creates a bit of a distance. So automatically
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
like I can deal with this. I'm feeling angry and now I can deal with this. But if I am angry,
Yeah.
then I don't know what to do with that anger. So it becomes
Yeah.
too
I'm
much
making
to deal with.
myself the anger. Correct.
Exactly.
I'm almost saying that this is who I am, as opposed to saying this is how I'm feeling. And I'm not the anger, but the awareness behind it, which gives me
Exactly.
more choice or control,
Mm,
right?
absolutely.
Similarly, let's try this also. And I often do this also with my students because I work with so many of them,
Yeah.
You can say that I, I just can't do this, or I'm not getting it right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're trying to learn something new right now, and we're always trying to learn something new, and we're never good at it in the beginning, right?
Correct.
So try saying that,
I
I'm
can't
just
do it.
not getting it.
Yeah.
I
Just
can't do it.
yeah.
Say that.
I
Yeah.
I
Say I
can't
can't
do
do it.
this. I can't do this, or I'm not getting it, or I'm not able to do it.
Again, and there is a physical experience to that.
Correct.
Yeah. Now think of the same thing that you're trying to learn, but you're
Mm,
still like learning, and say
mm.
instead, I'm learning how to do it.
Yeah. I'm learning how to do it. Yeah.
And
It's
there's a
different.
difference.
And I should just,
So
sorry to cut you. I think I can definitely add my personal experience. I think right now, social media is that for me. I don't have my personal diary right now, but I actually had this exact questioning with my head because there was a time when
yeah,
I didn't want to do anything on social media for a long time, mainly because of, yeah, the whole fear of failure. And then when I started
yeah,
it, I said, I'll just do it. And then when I went through the same questioning, so I can relate to what you're saying, when I just went, you know what, I can't do this. I'm not capable enough
yeah,
to do it. Oh, everyone's doing it, but I can't do this. So you know what, let it be. And then I actually sat and wrote down these questions. Same, what is the purpose? What are you doing? What are you getting at? And then when I came to that point that I'm learning to do this is not my
yeah,
forte, or this is not something that comes naturally to me, so I'm just learning. It might take a little bit longer than I expect, so I'm just going to wait
yeah.
it out and see, do what I'm good at, and then see if everything falls in place or not. And again, this
Hmm.
is,
Hmm.
let's see how it goes, but I'm learning this particular skill. So the moment now in my head, it's a learning thing. The
Yeah.
expectations and the pressure is completely minimized. And I feel
Yeah.
the output is better. Like I feel like I can put in more efforts in the productivity, and I'm not
Yeah.
stressing on, oh my God, I can't do this. So yeah, I totally
Yeah.
get when you're saying about the language. Like I actually, to be honest, I did it, but I didn't realize the power of language at that point. So yeah, it definitely validates that point. So thank you for that.
So in that sense, so when
Yeah.
so that's the way we need to look at language. One, I'm using it to kind of communicate, but
Mm, mm,
also communicate my experience, but it's
mm,
also creating experience. So
mm.
now my question to you becomes, how am I using my language? Am I using it to create an experience which is favorable for me or
Mm.
one that's unfavorable, right? So am I using proactive language? Am I using reactive language?
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, then, if I'm using language and it's creating experience for me, for myself, when I'm talking to somebody else, how are my words or what kind of experience are those words
Mm.
creating for the other person then?
Mm.
And how can I use my language to create the experience that I want to create for them?
Mm.
Because here's also another thing with the purpose of communication, which I want to bring out. Very often we think the purpose of communication is what I want the other person to do,
Mm. Mm.
right? It's very action led. So
Mm.
I will think about, okay, maybe I want to work with Aditi, for
Mm.
example,
Mm.
right? So I'll call Aditi, and I'm now thinking my purpose is I want to get a chance to work with Aditi. So let me call her up and tell her that and communicate that.
Mm.
And so that Aditi works with me. Now
Mm.
that's an action led purpose.
Mm. Mm.
Any purpose has actually three parts to it, and how often do we think about all three when we are planning our communication, which is what do I want the other person to think?
Mm.
How do I want the other person to feel?
Mm. Mm.
And then what do I want the other person to do?
Mm.
And we only think on the action part.
Mm.
As a leader, for example, you want your team to do something. Now, I can tell the team that, you know what, guys, in 4 days, I want you all to do this.
Mm.
Right? And that I've communicated my action and my purpose at the action level is met.
Mm.
But think about this. If I'm to tell them that, you know what, guys, I feel like you this is a project that I have. I feel like you are the experts in this. The last time I gave you something like this and I trusted you with it, you did a fantastic job, and I just can't wait to see what you do this time, and I want this in the next 4 days.
Mm.
Now, I have made you feel a certain way. I've
Mm.
made you think a certain way. And the action becomes outcome of that thought and
Outcome.
emotion. And I'm not just talking about the action.
Mm.
So it helps to think about how
Mm.
I want people to think and feel
Mm.
while they do what I'm asking of them as well.
Mm.
And now take this across, talking to your children, talking to your students, talking to your, clients, and just imagine how powerful communication becomes when I'm actually thinking of the purpose on these three levels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we
How
do
do I
that.
want my friends to think? And then what I want them to do.
Absolutely. That's so brilliantly said. And when you said children, that is so true. That's what the whole essence of whole gentle parenting or communicating with kids is all about. I think that's what I try to do with my children as much as I can. But just I think what you said and what I think a lot of people listening to it might be reflecting on is when it comes to making other people do things. I think it's perfectly what it is, the kind of assertive communication when you're understanding what or how you want them to feel and how you want them to think. And um, we do miss it out on friends because we take it for granted, I think, but it's important to understand in terms of any relationship, which is beautifully put. But my question would be, like, I'm thinking, like I said, when I come here I always think from what questions my clients have or what questions I have, or what question people struggle with in general whom I've met through the years. Wouldn't that be too difficult to do every day? Like, wouldn't that contradict? I mean, I know the answer, but I thought you'll be a better person to explain this. um, wouldn't that contradict the point that, oh my god, so I have to think about other people all the time? Is it? What about how I think or how I feel? So how do we balance that out? Do you get what I'm saying, right? Like, sometimes people feel that oh my god, I have to put so much efforts here. I'm struggling with my own communication because I struggle to just articulate sometimes, and now I'm supposed to keep in mind every time that I say something what other people feel and think. It's just too hard to do it. So how do we make it
Hmm.
easy? Because what you're saying is right, but just how do we make the process a little bit, I don't know, easy, or not? It doesn't make people feel that, oh my god, I have to constantly think about other people.
But we have to, no? I mean, I'm just saying when I'm communicating with you and I
Yeah.
want, okay, let's break it down like this. What's the purpose of communication? Why do we communicate?
To talk to other people, to express yourself to other people.
And if we really go down to the core of it, it's because I want something.
Okay.
It's always because I want something. Even if it is I want to express myself, but I want something.
Hmm.
Correct? Now, if I want something from someone and I'm telling them that, right? It's almost like I need to tell them in a way that they understand it.
Hmm.
Hmm? So, for example, if Aditi doesn't know how to speak Japanese and I come here and speak to Aditi in Japanese saying, I want this, you'll be like,
Hmm.
what are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Right? So, I have to speak your language
Hmm.
or the language that you understand.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here, isn't it? Because if I want something, yes, it is effort, it will take a little more time, but it's also what will get you the result. Because how many times we hear that I have told you to do this a zillion times, but you don't do it. Yeah, because when I told you to do it, I didn't make you feel like wanting to do it.
Hmm.
I didn't make you think that actually I want to do it. I just told you do it.
Hmm.
No, so well, yes, there is effort,
Hmm.
but then that's what's effective.
Yeah.
Because I have to see, ultimately, people will do what they want to do,
Hmm.
correct? And if here is what I'm asking of you,
Hmm.
I want you to feel like wanting to do that.
Absolutely. Brilliantly said.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think yes, we it goes into putting it in a little bit of thought, but I think it's important. Because reverse it also, Aditi, there are people who'll ask favors of us and we will be like, I'll do anything for this person.
Exactly.
And then there are people who will keep telling us to do something like, I don't want to do it for this person.
Hmm.
And the difference is in how they ask.
Hmm.
So I
And
think, which is where I feel it's important to think because I mean, when I am asking something of someone else, then I have to think about them as well.
one more trick question. Like again, I'm throwing it from what I get, and then I'll summarize
Yeah.
everything at the end. Okay. So what if it is?
Thank you, Aditi. Lots of pressure and challenge happening here.
No, that's what I feel sometimes, and I get what you're saying, and I'll add to what I normally like my point of view to this. But this is perfect what you said. Uh, Again, this is something I'm throwing like literally questions that I think we've gone through when we were younger, and I think now we've matured thankfully a little bit, but or now a little bit, and now all my younger clients have these questions, or mostly I think most of us have these questions a lot, which is very common, because like you said, most of us really. How do you put it? Like we literally operate in our lives on a very surface level. Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem that we all have. It is so much of the to-do list and the autopilot mode that we all run, that we don't stop and think and be mindful of all these things, which we should. I had this, like, just off on that note, on one of my girls groups, I had this message saying silly things that women should do to keep themselves feel better, and all the things were like take a walk, do some cooking, relax, so all self care things. And I just replied by saying these are not silly at all. These are things that we need
Yeah.
to do, not because we have extra time, or because okay, now we have some free time, let's do something for ourselves. We have to set aside time, invest in ourselves to do in these things, because these are very vital, important things for our mental health and emotional well-being. But again, like I said, we
Yeah.
all all are living so much on surface level, we're not diving down at all. And we are so used to band-aiding things and not doing the surgery. I call it that way. I always tell my clients I do surgery. And if you want band-aids, I'm
Hmm.
not the psychologist for you. I don't do band-aids. You have to keep coming and you have to do the surgery. Because I've
That's
gone through
beautiful.
that phase. Yeah, I've gone through that phase where I would do what my client wants, and now I'm like, no, it doesn't work. There's no point you coming for a couple of sessions and then. So I'm what I'm getting from your conversation is that communication is that big surgery. We have to dive deeper and start working on those
Yeah.
little things to understand. And it's so easy, to be honest. Once we get used to it, once we understand the whole mantra behind it, you're going to love to do it. I think one silly, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't say silly, but one question that I feel like a lot of us go through um, is, I always understand other people, but other people don't understand me. Or I always put
Mm.
extra efforts in whatever you're saying to do, but nobody does that
Mm-hmm.
for me. And
Mm.
I think we see a lot of people. I've been through that phase, to be honest. I wouldn't lie. I have been through that phase where
We
I've
all have, I think.
hated everyone. I think I had archived our group as well, our girls group as well, at one point, and I think only a couple of them knew that I've done that. And I said, I'm not replying to this group, where I felt not heard. I felt not seen. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone through that phase, so I understand. But now looking back, I also understand that everybody goes through different stages of life and all of that, and now it's different. I don't feel that anyway. But I know that
Yeah.
90%, I wouldn't be wrong giving that statistics, I think 90% people feel that way, that we are taking lots of efforts to understand, but I don't feel heard. um,
Mm-hmm.
how would communication play a part in this? Or what, or if it would, I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm throwing a bit of a broad question to you, but
I think it's a very interesting question, actually. And as you were saying this, I was also thinking about it, because even I think like I said, I think when you said that you felt like this, I felt like this, and I'm sure people have felt like this. But,
yeah.
when I say that I understand,
Hmm.
but people don't understand me,
Hmm.
or I'm not being understood while I put in so much effort to understand. I think, again, we use words so loosely in the sense that I understand in the way I want to be understood.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
is that the way the other person wants to be understood?
Hmm.
Because I might feel like I'm really understanding when this has happened also for me. I mean, forget when I talk to my clients, I'm talking about myself individually also, where I'm like, I've done so much, yeah, to understand you. And you're telling me I don't understand. Because everyone's way of being understood is different.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think again, when we talk about meet people where they are, or, actually, understand what their world consists of, it's
Hmm.
understanding what understanding means for them. And if it's someone who's really close to me, and if it's a relationship that I truly value, I will go ahead and say that. And wouldn't be wrong to say that here also, Aditi, you've done that with us as well. This is what I need. And when you do this, I feel understood.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
communicate what you need from those people so they
Hmm.
understand what they need and what understanding means to you. And it's very different. It's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, understanding could be this person sitting and just listening to me and not saying anything. But for you, understanding could be holding you and constantly saying, yeah, Aditi, yes, you're right. You're right.
Hmm.
And that's how I feel understood, and that's how you feel understood. So if you're not feeling understood, I think one is definitely telling the people around us what I need to feel understood, and
Exactly.
then see whether they're doing that, you know. So
Ab-
it could be either that the people we are surrounded ourselves with are not the people for us also. And sometimes that's the case even, right? Like it doesn't work. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's just that they want to, or they think they're understanding. We think, they're not. So telling them what understanding is for us so that they can do that for us,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
rather than, and this whole thing that we do in communication, especially romantic relationships, he or she should understand even without me having to say it. Please, yeah. That's not possible. That's not possible. You've got to, in fact, maturing in love and building that relationship is a lot about, and when I say love, I mean romantic love, I mean your friends, everyone,
Hmm.
is about telling them what are your definitions of these things. And, and then seeing do they do that then. So,
Absolutely. I think before we started recording, you mentioned something about your and your partner's relationship in terms of I think it was a very cute thing, and I think it's very important that every person in a marriage or
Huge.
relationship should, yeah, because it's important. Because important,
Yeah.
I see so many in couple counseling, and in general, I know in my life right now, so many people are going through relationship issues. Um,
Yeah.
and I have this personal experience, what you have, that it's important to fight to
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
know
of
each
course.
other better. So you said something really beautiful. I wanted to repeat it over here when you said um, about disagreeing and agreeing. You made a comment about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, what was
yeah.
that about relationships?
So basically, I mean, of course, you know that I have dated, I've been with Savya for so many years before we got married, right? But when we got married, I think that there were a lot of tiffs and a lot
Mm,
of fights. And I was just like, how is this even happening? We've been together for so many years, and why are we having these issues? But I think maybe 2 years, 2.5 years into our marriage, I think what changed and where our relationship, I believe, became really beautiful is when we learned how to fight.
mhm.
So it's not that don't fight, but it's about fighting healthy.
Yeah.
It's about fighting with love. So, as much as we talk about learn the art of loving each other, I think it's also important to learn the art of fighting with each other because you're going to fight, you're going to have disagreements, right? And I think that learning between the two of us how to hold space for each other when the other is talking, and even in disagreement, like I think it's very important to know that when I'm disagreeing with something you said, I'm disagreeing with what you're saying or what your idea is or what you're suggesting. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Mm,
That difference between the person and the problem, I think, is very important.
mm,
Because when we don't learn to make that distinction,
mm,
we think that the person is the problem,
mm,
which is not true. And when we make the person the problem, very often we lose the person, but the problem continues to stay. But when we learn to distinguish between the person and the problem, we talk about that, okay, we are having this problem, and now let's see what we can, do about it.
mm,
And I'm dismissing a certain idea or a certain issue. I'm not dismissing you as a person, and I think, which is why there has to be a lot of love and compassion in the way you fight as well. And there have to be rules between the two of you that these are areas that you don't go to. You
mm.
shouldn't go to. Don't get personal. We're talking about this. Let's talk about this. So I think what I feel really shifted, in my relationship was when we learned to fight. Because then in that fighting also, there was never a question of, do you love me? It's not a conditional thing. I know that I'm very loved and I'm very heard. And we're just talking about a problem. And then the way you can talk about the problem, is it's really nice. And then it's fun to fight. And
Absolutely. And
of course, then after all the fighting, there's always lovely making up for that fight. So that's also beautiful. So I
and
think, yeah, understanding the difference between person and problem, and we
yeah,
will deal with the problem, the person, and
100%.
vice versa. Because I think for a long time, I went with this understanding of, oh, I'm so brilliant, right? So the problem's always with my partner. But understanding that, it's both ways, right? Because you're two different people. And what makes sense to you may not make sense to him, and vice versa.
Exactly.
So, how do we kind of, make sense and then create our own definitions in this relationship
Absolutely. No, I
of
have.
how we want it to be and then figure it out? I hope I've explained that well,
Oh yeah,
but
beautifully. No, no, absolutely true. And that's a big part of communication as well.
yeah,
Sometimes being
absolutely.
understood, being misunderstood. Again, it's that communication error that's happening. The person is not erred. You're not error as a human just because you've not communicated properly, or you're not a error as a person because you have failed to understand someone. It's understanding that you are having issues in your communication and you need to get better with that. It doesn't mean anything to you as a person. And again, developing that distance and then working on your communication. that's going to make it better for you and for everyone. And like you said, it's the same with relationships. I had a little smirk on my face because I just went back to our college days when you had the habit of saying, I'm pretty. I'm so pretty. When
Yeah.
you said I thought I was fabulous, it just
Yeah,
went
yeah.
back
I
to
always point to, and then I'm like, okay, that's not how this works. So yeah,
pretty.
let's get realistic about things.
It's funny because I can share this. Niyati and I are very common in those. We're very common in a lot of things. We're very much
We have a
alike.
lot of
We're a
similarities.
lot of time alike. And I used to say that to my parents a lot. I'm pretty. And now my 2-year-old daughter says it. Okay. She'll be staring in the mirror. She'd be like, when I get up, she'd be like, Mommy, lipstick. And then the day I just found her like going, like trying to get her dimple out like me. And I was just like, we're just looking
Yeah.
at her for like 2 minutes, and I was like, God, she's mini me. It's scary, but it's exactly like that. But yeah, no, I think it's good to be like that. Yeah, Niyati, it is good. I think we should be happy for who we are, and then start
Absolutely.
working on what can be tweaked. I always say, not change, but tweaked to be a better version of yourself. Um, I think there's so much to talk about. We need to do a second Zoom podcast for this, and maybe just
Love
talk
that.
about
Actually,
relationships.
yeah, I mean, for me telling you in the beginning that I was really nervous about this because this is the first time I'm doing something like this. And trust me when I say this, Aditi, the only reason I agreed to do this was because it's you. And I was like, okay, I'm sure that, she will kind of make me feel comfortable. But yeah, I am also really enjoying this. So yes, we can do another one. I'm quite confident being
And
able
you
to
have
do
been
it.
amazing, Nidhi. Like at some points, I was actually forgetting what question to ask because I'm so mesmerized with your comments. I'm just going like in depth with what you're saying, and I'm literally like in 2 minutes. I was like, okay, I have to like ask the next question. So beautifully put. I think I 100% agree with everything you've said. I've loved the way you've explained everything because again, my mentor, my guru, Dr. Naidu, said something to me few months back because he's my therapist as well. A lot of times I go to him with similar problems and I tell him that, I know how to do this because I tell my clients this all the time, but I just can't do it in my life. And he said there's a big difference
Yeah,
between knowledge and wisdom. He said you know a lot of things, but to make it
yeah,
wisdom, you have to consciously practice it.
yeah,
From my end, I would like to sum it up from this point that whatever Niyati and I have discussed today, maybe whatever Niyati has said, a lot of you might know it. A lot of it would see like, huh, ये तो हमको पता है. This is something we know. What do we do next? So what do we do next
yeah,
is practice it on a more regular basis because it's not just knowing, but it's what it means to you and how you can make it a part of your living and how you can tweak that communication first with yourself. Then again, I think 2 3 things that have struck my mind is what's the purpose of your communication. The biggest thing at the end, what Niyati meant said is I want something. Now, this is something which I again tell a lot of my clients very bluntly these days is that please accept and acknowledge that we all are very selfish people. And now that selfish word has become very negative for what reasons over the years because of society or whatever. Like selfish and egoistic have become very negative words, but they were never meant to be negative. If you just think of being selfish, yeah, when is it bad? When you're doing something to hurt someone. But selfish is
hmm,
basically we all like, what, when you sit in a plane, what happens? You put your mask first and then you mask somebody else, is what they say. We have to safeguard ourselves. It's survival mode. We're animals at the end of the day. We have to protect ourselves. We have to do things that we need for our survival. So it is no shame or no judgment to say that, yes, when I communicate with someone, I want this. And I think that's when I
yeah,
have become better with my friends, to be honest, because I lived with that a lot because of whatever childhood experiences and everything I went through, that nobody understands me. And now with the selected people that I feel are my safe zone, I will pick up the call and say, listen, dude, this is what I mean, this is what I need from you, and you have to give me
yeah,
this because
yeah.
you are my person, and then that person also says the same to me, and then we understand each other. So it's about communicating what you want and not feeling shameful about it. Especially
Yeah.
from, I feel, the your people, the people that you are super close to. I feel like, if these are your people and you feel that they are your safe zone, then I think you should be comfortable enough to communicate with them. um, So yeah, I think it's, and I think one more thing that is ringing in my head is the hierarchy bit that you mentioned, which is brilliant again, that how we do see the world as hierarchy and we don't have to be. I think again, one more thing that Dr. Naidu mentioned in his is that the world goes like this, not like this. Like it's not linear, it's not like this, it's like this. Everything is like this, it's happening at the same time. So it's understanding that as well and using it in your communication. Um, I think there's so much more that I've learned from this session. Thank you so much, Niyati. Um, just to sum it up, is there anything that you want to highlight, um, talk about, anything to just, what do you call it, your closing statements?
Actually, I wouldn't call this my closing because I think it's such an important thing. And
Yeah.
we were talking about it before we got on this call.
Mm,
And I think one of the things that shifted my understanding of communication, and I think I should call that out here,
mm,
is the meaning of communication,
mm,
is not about what is said,
mm.
it's about what's understood,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which means that at any point, communication is happening on the terms of the listener.
Yes.
And I have to take complete responsibility for what, if I'm communicating and one on one, of course, not
Yeah.
in a group because that's not possible. I'm addressing in a very different context.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I'm talking to somebody individually and independently, I have to take complete responsibility or feel responsible about what they understand and how they understand. And then again, the difference between he or she doesn't understand,
Mm.
as opposed to I am explaining, the way I'm explaining, they are not understanding.
Yeah.
So I need to explain differently.
Absolutely.
Right. So, whenever I could have the same message, and Aditi, I'm sure we've experienced this, right?
Yeah.
I might have to have the same conversation, but the way I'll have it with my mother versus the
Mm.
way I'll have it with my father versus the
Yeah.
way I'll have it with my sister is very different, because communication is at every point happening on the terms of the listener. So I have to think about, they are coming with their understanding, their filters, all of that. So how do I push through all of that, or move through all of that? Push would not be the right word. Move through
Yeah.
all of that to make sure that they get my message as intended. And of course, it's never going to be 100% understood as I intended, but I can try and get as close to that as possible. But am I taking the responsibility of that? And I think that's where flexibility becomes very important. How flexible am I willing to be in the way I share what I have to share so you understand? And I think children are so brilliant at that. If you think about it, see, children are the best, they are best at persuasion
Mm.
because they will go all out. They will try it like this, please, please, please. They will try it like that, which is screaming and shouting and throwing. They will try everything till the
Absolutely.
message lands, or till you understand. So I think that's definitely something. In fact, in one of these books of NLP, and I read that recently, we're all born fantastic communicators, and then life happens, with the conditionings and what we pick up from our families and all of that, and from people around us. And so I think, yeah, we need to kind of take responsibility when we're talking to someone and see what best can I do
Mm.
so that message is being understood as intended. And also the other reverse. So, as a listener, am I taking responsibility to understand what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big one as well. Yeah. Because it's not about just what you're communicating, it's also about how you're listening and how you're taking it, and how much
Yeah.
efforts we are putting in really listening to what somebody is saying, or are we listening only what you want to listen? um, that's a big point as well. We definitely need a second episode of this because there's so much, and I think we should continue talking about communication. um, we didn't touch upon so many points, I know that, but let's definitely do a part two, because I think we've got so much from this one session. There's so much that people have to really take in, breathe out, and understand, because I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody listening, like, I think how, and it's not just that we are saying this that means we both are great communicators. No, we are not. We are also learning. There's a lot that we
Yeah.
don't do right, and I think the only change happens when we are just aware and a little bit more open to understanding that yes, this is a communication error, and I don't, it's not that, I'm doing something wrong. It's some, what is it that I can make it, how is it I can make it better? And communication is such a big part. And also, I think, to sum it up, I would want to just, this one thing that just struck my mind in all these three podcasts I have done. I think one message I've got from all three podcasts is that, like you said, we are born good communicators. Dr. Naidu said we are born to listen to our body. Daniel said that we are born storytellers. So
Yeah.
basically, we
Yeah.
all have it in us, but we have just forgotten things. So it's not that you guys have to learn anything from scratch, it's right there in your systems. If we slowly go back to our natural being, start listening to your body, let your body communicate. Like you said, 7% is only language. So let your body communicate and try to get in line with that. And thirdly,
Yeah.
learn to narrate and say stories to each other. Then I guess, that could be the best way of living life. It's literally just trying to be who you are, just to be. That's the first
Yeah.
verb I learned in French. To
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Be.
what is that? I forgot the French part of it.
Être.
What is that?
Être.
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 Yes.
Être.
Whenever I
Yes.
think of être, it comes to be. So we literally have to just to be right now, and yeah, just be yourself. Just try to connect to ground as much as possible, and everything will just start flowing. So
Hmm.
thank you so much, Niyati, for this fantastic time. I'm so really grateful, really grateful from my heart for taking out time to do this for us. Like I said, we're still understanding how to do all of this social media stuff, but the whole idea is whatever I'm getting
We are
out of
learning.
you guys, yeah, whatever I'm getting out of you guys, I think that's gold for me. I don't know where this is going right now. I'm just feeling very grateful of all that amazing expertise I'm getting from you. And thank you to removing time on a Sunday. Um, to do this. And again, for you, people who have just seen this as a first one, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will be seeing this first one because Niyati is very famous. So, just letting you know that. So, I'm a psychologist working in Adelaide, Australia. Niyati is in Mumbai. So yeah, we can see the night and day. It's night there almost, I guess. It's going to be midnight.
You've seen a
It's
transition through this
transition.
podcast.
Yeah, it's
It
definitely
started with light, and we've had this conversation long enough for it to get dark. Yes.
So yeah, definitely it's going to be midnight very soon. So don't make me get up because I'm wearing PJs down. So so thank you so much, Niyati, and love you truly for doing this. I'm really grateful to have you in my life, and I truly mean it. Um, I think I always say to a lot of my clients, if you have gone through the phase of, really getting angry at someone, or, feeling like, oh, I don't like them, or, why are they doing this to them? That means you love them too much. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, so I think when we've gone through that phase with each other, that means we really love each other and really appreciate. I think you're going to be a big part of Tea Connection. This is not the end, this is just the beginning, and we'll do lots of great things together. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you and to also wish you all the best for Lingo Nest. Like, I hope you keep growing the community. Also, all the best with all your corporate trainings that you're doing. I'm sure people are very lucky to have you as their trainer. And third is, of course, all the best to you and Uncle for Niyashi. I think it's very cute. Yeah, it's very beautiful that you and Dad are doing something together, and I know personally how big this is for you and how much it means for you to do something with your dad. So I'm really happy for you.